You feel it long before you ever hear it. It's the sudden electric shift in a room's atmosphere the moment you enter. It's the conversation that abruptly dies, only to be reborn as a series of hushed whispers the second you turn your back. This isn't paranoia, it's the undeniable echo of your impact, the sonic footprint of a man who walks his own path. Have you ever stopped to truly ask yourself why your quiet existence provokes such loud speculation in the shadows? Welcome to the Sigma male community, the one place that doesn't just ask the question but dissects the answer, because understanding their noise is the key to mastering your own silence. We are here to decode the matrix of social dynamics for the man who stands apart, not out of arrogance, but out of a deep, unshakable commitment to his own internal compass. Today we pull back the curtain on the psychology of envy, insecurity, and social politics, revealing why the world can't stop talking about the one man who needs none of their validation. 1. The unsettling mirror. You expose their mediocrity. When you move through the world, you operate with a glacial self-sufficiency that most people find both mesmerizing and deeply unsettling. There is no desperate search for validation in your eyes, no pandering for acceptance, and no need to anchor your identity to a tribe. You are a walking, breathing testament to what authentic, untethered competence looks like, and this alone is the primary trigger for the gossip that follows you. Your very presence serves as an unflattering mirror, forcing those who rely on external applause to confront the reflection of their own compromises and dependencies. They see you thriving in the quiet confidence of your own world, and it subconsciously highlights the void in theirs, a void they constantly try to fill with the noise of others' approval. Gossip, for them, becomes a desperate defense mechanism, a way to smudge and distort the reflection you cast, hoping to blur the sharp edges of their own mediocrity that you so effortlessly expose. Your independence is not an act of aggression, yet it is perceived as an indictment of their neediness. The man who can find fulfillment in his own thoughts, who can execute his plans without a committee, and who can weather storms with a calm that comes from within, is a profound anomaly in a world built on social leveraging. Their whispers are not truly about you, they are about the uncomfortable questions you make them ask themselves. Why do they need the group so desperately? Why is their confidence so fragile that it requires constant external reinforcement? They gossip to create a narrative that paints you as flawed or strange, because the alternative is to admit that their own way of living, a life of quiet desperation and social compliance, is a choice, not a necessity. Your self-contained power reveals their chains, and they would rather slander the free man than attempt to break their own shackles. 2. The alpha's kryptonite. You ignore their paper throne. In the rigid theater of social hierarchy, the alpha reigns supreme through a carefully constructed illusion of dominance, an illusion that requires the unwavering belief and participation of the collective. His power is a currency minted from the attention and fear of others. Then a Sigma enters the room and the entire ecosystem destabilizes, not through a direct challenge but through sheer, unadulterated indifference. You don't fight for his throne. You simply act as if it doesn't exist. While others jockey for position, seeking favor and fearing retribution, you operate on a different axis entirely, one where substance, competence, and character are the only metrics that matter. You bypass the performance of power and engage directly with reality, and this quiet dismissal is what terrifies the insecure leader whose entire identity is fused to his title. This perceived insubordination is the alpha's kryptonite. His authority crumbles without the collective buy-in that you so effortlessly withhold. Your lack of engagement is not a sign of disrespect, but a sign that you respect only what is real and earned, not what is merely postured. Unable to control you through the normal channels of social pressure or intimidation, the insecure alpha resorts to the only weapon he has left: slander. He and his lieutenants will weaponize gossip, painting you as arrogant, a lone wolf who can't be trusted, or a disruptive force. This narrative isn't designed to hurt you, but to control the perception of you among the flock. It's a desperate attempt to shore up a crumbling dynasty of ego, proving that the whispers about you are rarely about your character and almost always about preserving a fragile power structure that you render utterly irrelevant. 3. The Ghost Protocol. Your absence proves their replaceability. There is a unique power in your ability to detach, to disappear from the social grid for days or weeks, only to return completely unchanged, your internal state unaffected by your absence from the collective. This act, often done without conscious intent, ignites a firestorm of whispers and speculation. Because your effortless detachment reveals a brutal and terrifying truth that society is built to ignore. Everyone is, to some extent, replaceable. While others cling to their roles in friendships, workplaces, and social circles like life rafts, you demonstrate that it is possible to move freely, to be untethered, and to find your center far from the maddening crowd. This exposes the fragile core of social dependency, the unspoken fear that without the group, one ceases to exist. Your silence isn't cold, it's catalytic. It forces people to confront the flimsy nature of the bonds they believe are ironclad. When you can leave and return without missing a beat, it sends a chilling message to those whose entire sense of self-worth is tied to being needed, to being a crucial cog in the machine. The gossip that arises is a direct coping mechanism for this existential dread. They whisper, if he can erase us from his life so easily, what does that say about our own importance? He must think he's better than us. They craft stories to fill the void your absence creates, narratives that help them process the unsettling realization that their social significance is not as permanent as they thought. Your ability to disconnect is not a rejection of them, but a reflection of your own inner completeness, a state they can only interpret as a threat. For effortless gravity, your confidence needs no applause. True confidence is not loud, brash, or performative. It is ambient, like the subtle pressure change before a storm. This is the nature of your presence. You walk into a space without the need for rehearsed charisma or a charming facade. You simply exist, and yet you command a certain gravity. This quiet self-possession is infuriating to those who treat life as a perpetual stage, individuals who are constantly auditioning for the approval and validation of an unseen audience. They have spent their lives honing a performance, and your ability to gain respect and intrigue without even reading the script feels like a personal insult to their tireless efforts. Their jealousy festers in the shadows because you possess what they are working so hard to imitate. Their frustration inevitably curdles into gossip, as it is the only tool they have to reframe your authentic magnetism into something negative. They will label your quiet poise as arrogance, your observational silence as judgment, and your self-contained nature as acting superior. In truth, they are simply exhausted. They are weary from the constant performance, from the emotional labor of managing their image, and from the endless pursuit of applause. Your authenticity is an unspoken critique of their entire theater. It suggests that there is a way to be powerful without being loud, to be influential without being manipulative, and to be respected without begging for it. The whispers are their attempt to convince themselves, more than anyone else, that their performative struggle is noble and that your effortless presence is a fraud. 5. The rule-breaking enigma. You defy their labels. Human beings are creatures of categorization. We crave mental shortcuts and neat little boxes to make sense of a complex world. We use labels, introvert, extrovert, leader, follower, alpha, beta, to create a social taxonomy that feels predictable and safe. And then you come along. You are the paradox they cannot solve, the data point that breaks their entire model. You can be silent and observant in one moment, then articulate and influential in the next. You can thrive in solitude for extended periods, yet navigate social situations with a calm, magnetic presence when you choose to. You are the leader who doesn't want followers and the loner who is never truly alone. This chameleonic nature shatters their simplistic boxes and induces a state of cognitive dissonance that they find deeply frustrating. Because they cannot neatly label you, they resort to gossip as a reductionist tool. It is their attempt to force you into a category, however inaccurate it may be. They will grasp at the simplest, most dismissive explanations: he's just antisocial, he's emotionally detached, or it's all an act to get attention. These labels are not born from genuine observation but from intellectual laziness and a deep-seated fear of the unknown. Admitting that you genuinely transcend their predefined categories would threaten their entire understanding of social dynamics. It would mean that their rulebook is incomplete, that their map of the world is flawed. You are chaos theory in human form, a living embodiment of the fact that the most powerful individuals are those who cannot be easily defined, and the whispers are nothing more than the sound of their collapsing paradigms. Wait, you feel this, don't you? Whether you're the sigma they whisper about or the observer dissecting their game, this tension isn't accidental. It's proof you're disrupting the matrix. They gossip because you live what they fear: freedom. Their noise is not just background static, it is the evidence of your impact. It is the confirmation that you are on the right path. Stay with me because understanding their motives is the final step to becoming completely immune to their words. 6. Success without permission. Your wins invalidate their struggles. In the conventional narrative of success, there is a clear, prescribed path. You must network relentlessly, you must play the political game, you must swear loyalty oaths to superiors, and you must, above all, be seen to be grinding. Many believe that struggle and suffering are prerequisites for legitimate achievement. Then you achieve your goals, often significant ones, on your own terms. You do it quietly, without the performative hustle, the endless networking marathons, or the public declarations of your ambition. To those who have bought into this suffer to succeed narrative, this feels like you are cheating the system. Your success, achieved through silent competence and strategic action, invalidates the very foundation of their worldview. This is where their resentment is born, and it is almost always projected onto you as gossip. If you can achieve victory without playing their sacrificial game, it renders their entire struggle meaningless, or worse, foolish. They cannot accept this, so they must reframe your success to fit their narrative. They will attribute your wins to luck, privilege, or ruthless, unethical tactics. They will whisper that you must have stepped on others to get where you are because the alternative, that you simply outthought and outmaneuvered the system through superior strategy and self-discipline, is too damaging to their own egos. Your path was not easier, it was simply unburdened by the dead weight of social obligation and performative suffering, and that is a truth they cannot afford to acknowledge. 7. The black hole effect. Your silence fuels their paranoia. In any social interaction, people are constantly sending and receiving microsignals. They offer a piece of information and wait for a reaction, a nod, a smile, a frown, to gauge their standing and adjust their behavior. You, however, often operate as a psychological black hole. You observe, you listen, but you offer very little in return. There is no fawning validation, no overt disdain, just a calm, neutral opacity. This vacuum of feedback is terrifying for the average person, whose entire social existence is built on this call-and-response dynamic. Your neutrality denies them the data they crave to calculate their own self-worth in relation to you. It forces them to turn inward and confront a void of uncertainty. This is where their paranoia takes root and flourishes. In the absence of clear signals from you, they are forced to invent their own. Your silence becomes a blank canvas onto which they project their deepest insecurities and fears. What does he really think of me? They wonder, and when no answer comes, their minds race to the worst possible conclusions. Gossip becomes their desperate flashlight in the darkness of that uncertainty. They invent narratives to fill the silence, whispering to each other, "He hates us," "He thinks he's too good for us," or "He's secretly plotting something." These stories, however baseless, are more comforting to them than the psychological ambiguity of your neutrality. Your calm, unreadable demeanor feels like a strategic ambush, and their gossip is nothing more than the sound of their own anxieties echoing back at them. 8. Inclusion proof. You expose exclusion as a toy weapon. The most common and potent weapon in the arsenal of social control is the threat of exclusion. From the playground to the boardroom, groups maintain cohesion and enforce conformity by making it clear that stepping out of line will result in being cast out. Being ignored, uninvited, or given the silent treatment is a form of social punishment designed to cause intense psychological pain and coerce the target back into compliance. This weapon works on nearly everyone except you. The threat of exile is meaningless to a man who has already built his own kingdom within himself. You never sought to board their sinking ship of social validation in the first place, so their attempts to throw you overboard are utterly impotent. When their ultimate punishment, rejection, lands on you with the impact of confetti on armor, it doesn't just fail, it backfires spectacularly. It completely nullifies their perceived power and exposes their most feared weapon as a child's toy. This is when the gossip erupts with volcanic force. They need to believe that their rejection matters, that their social circle is desirable, and that being outside of it is a miserable fate. So they create a narrative to preserve this illusion. They'll say you're bitter, or lonely, or that you secretly want to be included. These whispers are not for your benefit but for theirs. They are a desperate chant to convince themselves that their little fort of inclusion has high walls, even as you walk past it without a second glance, revealing it for the sandbox it truly is. 9. The unplayed game. You win by not showing up. Consider the modern world's obsession with metrics. Social climbers obsessively grind for status. Corporate drones fight for incremental promotions. Influencers hustle relentlessly for likes, shares, and subscribers. It is a massive, multiplayer game where everyone is trying to rack up points on a scoreboard defined by others. And then there's you. You are the player who reads the rules, understands the game, and makes a conscious, rational decision to simply not play. Yet, paradoxically, you still accrue the very things they are fighting for: respect, intrigue, and tangible results in your own endeavors. This is, perhaps, the most infuriating reality of all for them, as it fundamentally breaks their delusion of meritocracy. Their entire worldview is built on the premise that effort within the system equals reward. Your success, achieved by opting out of their game, completely unravels this belief. It suggests that their frantic hustle might be a waste of energy, a hamster wheel they can't see. Unable to process this, they turn to gossip to rationalize your victory. They will label you lazy, unambitious, or entitled, because acknowledging that non-participation can be a more powerful strategy than their all-consuming hustle would force them to question every choice they've ever made. Your victory isn't measured by a score. Your victory is in the stoic act of refusing to keep score in a game that is rigged from the start. Their whispers are the lament of players who are slowly realizing they've been playing for the wrong prize. 10. Insecurity projection. They dress you in their fears. Ultimately, the vast majority of gossip directed at a Sigma male is nothing more than a profound act of psychological projection. Your quiet, self-contained nature makes you a blank slate, and they use that slate to paint a portrait of their own deepest, most hidden anxieties. Your silence becomes a vessel that they fill with the poison of their own insecurities. When they whisper, "He must be so lonely," what they are really expressing is their own paralyzing fear of solitude and their inability to find peace in their own company. When they accuse you of being arrogant and judgmental, they are often projecting the shame of their own gnawing self-doubt and their habit of constantly comparing themselves to others. Every rumor, every label, every whispered story becomes a confession. You are not a person to them in these moments, you are a Rorschach test for their own fractured psyches. Listening to the gossip about you is like holding a diagnostic tool that reveals the pathologies of the speakers. They are not describing you, they are describing the parts of themselves they cannot stand to face. They dress you in the clothes of their own fears because it is easier to see those flaws on someone else than to acknowledge them in the mirror. Understanding this principle is a form of armor, allowing their words to pass through you, recognizing them not as attacks, but as the sad, involuntary confessions of the insecure. 11. The jealousy of sovereignty. You own what they rent. The core difference between your confidence and theirs boils down to ownership versus rental. Their sense of self-worth is leased from external sources, from their job titles, their social circles, their partner's opinions, and the number of likes on their latest post. It is a fragile, conditional confidence that can be repossessed at any moment. Your confidence, on the other hand, is sovereign. It is a freehold property you have built from the ground up through brutal self-honesty, through weathering personal storms in silence, and through the stoic practice of mastering your own inner world. It requires no audience, no validation, and no external upkeep. You own it outright. This sovereignty sparks a venomous jealousy in those who are, metaphorically speaking, trapped in a cycle of paying psychological rent. They see in you a freedom they crave but are too afraid to pursue. To protect their fragile egos, they must devalue the source of your strength. Gossip becomes their tool to reframe your unshakable self-possession as coldness or emotional detachment, because in their world, warmth is transactional and synonymous with dependency. Your freedom isn't just something they envy, it feels like an existential theft, a reminder of what they have willingly given away. The whispers you hear are not just idle chatter. They are the unmistakable sound of rented identities and borrowed confidence clattering to the floor in the presence of a man who is truly his own. In the end, understand this fundamental truth: the gossip is never truly about you. It is the death rattle of outdated social systems you have transcended. It is the confused noise made by people witnessing a level of freedom they cannot comprehend. They whisper because your quiet existence asks a loud and uncomfortable question of their own. Let their noise be the wind at your back, the confirmation that you are moving in the right direction. Their chatter is nothing more than the echo of your impact. Keep walking your path with the calm resolve of a man who knows his own worth, independent of the verdict of the crowd. If this analysis resonated with you, if you recognized your own journey in these words, then support the mission. Hit subscribe, not for our validation but for your own ammunition in this world. This is the Sigma Male Community, a digital forge for sovereign minds. We don't offer empty motivation. We provide the intellectual tools for self-mastery. Now I want you to engage. Drop a comment below and share your experience. Have you lived this? Have you seen this game play out? Your insights are battlefield intelligence for every other man on this path. If this message needs to be heard, share this video. And if you are already with us, ensure your notifications are on, because our work here is far from finished. Stay sharp, stay sovereign, and stay silent when words are unnecessary.